What's going on, people? Georgio Savvides here, founder of the Hip Hop Orchestra, as well as the host of the Hip Hop Orchestra Presents podcast. And I got a really exciting announcement to finally make with everyone, is that we have our very first official sponsor for the podcast. Now, they are an amazing company called Odin's Vote, who are extremely dedicated in bringing you the very best in officially licensed merchandise from pop culture. And when I mean the very best, I mean the very best. They provide things like keyrings, caps, t-shirts, to Funko Pops, to statues from all over, such as DC, Marvel, Disney, The Mandalorian, Harry Potter, music artists from all over the place, and they are ridiculously good. I've got a couple of things to show you on offer at the moment. This trust with their stuff is amazing. So, t-shirts, like I mentioned, like the one I'm wearing right now. It's got Rocky right here, which I absolutely love. Or, like I said, also got Funko Pops as well, 3.75 inches and 10 inches. I've got a couple of 10 inches right here for you. I've got Post Malone right here, and I've also got Biggie right here, who I absolutely love. These are so sick. Odin's Vote, trust me, they are amazing. Now, I'm going to leave the link below in the video right here, and also in the description below as well in all future videos from the podcast. But trust me, Odin's Vote are amazing. Website is www.odinsvote.co.uk. Get in touch with them now and start buying ASAP. But also, before I forget as well, I just want to say the biggest thank you to Odin's Vote for sponsoring the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you. And trust me, get in touch with them right now. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And peace. What's going on, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast. I'm joined by a really good friend of mine. It's been a while since we caught up, actually. Co-owner, producer, and manager of the House and Garage Orchestra, Ishmael and Alex. How are you doing today? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you very much. How are you?
You know what? Not too bad. Thank you. Not too bad. We were just saying before the podcast, weren't we? How it's been a while, hasn't it, since we caught up last?
It seems like an age, with all of this lockdown. I feel like it's the year that's just been lost, to be perfectly honest. Everyone's just been in hibernation almost. It's just surreal, but almost out of the water.
Almost. I mean, how have you been finding the last past year or so? Have you been keeping okay?
Yeah, you know what? I've been busy, so the family's healthy, so I'm happy. We are blessed. That is the most important thing, I think, during these times, that everybody's healthy and just just getting on with it.
I'm so glad. I mean, our family okay as well, though? How are they getting on?
Yeah, I've got two kids, a wife, and my mum lives with us as well. So it's been pretty difficult. My wife has become a teacher extraordinaire at home. So yeah, it's been good. She's been getting on with it. The kids have been really good. I must admit, my kids are good. So I'm again blessed, very blessed.
I'm glad to hear. I mean, how's work for you as well? They still want to go to work and stuff yourself.
So work, obviously, by day I've got another business, and I do mechanical engineering, etc. That hasn't stopped at all for me. So at the beginning of the kind of COVID crisis back in March last year, nobody knew what was happening. We were hoping that everything was going to close down, because me going to work every day, especially with my mum being at home and being a lot older and being potentially vulnerable, not understanding what was happening was quite scary. But in the same breath, I've been very fortunate because I've been able to keep on working. So,
Brilliant. I'm so good to hear that you're still able to work and the family's okay. So I'm really glad to hear that. Really glad. Yeah. But how? Let's take it back to when you actually started the orchestra. About 2015, right? You started about 6 years ago.
Yeah, 2015. Me and Alex, Shy Cookie. I've known Shy Cookie since I was 15 years old.
Wow.
We both met when we started working in Sainsbury's. Funnily enough, we were both in sixth form college.
Really?
We started working in Sainsbury's. We found a common ground, which was music, and we've been best mates ever since. So yeah, me and him, we started the project back in 2015, House and Garage Orchestra, simply because I used to do a lot of promoted events. He's always been in music production, etc. But we'd never actually done a project together. So, you know, we were just talking one Christmas. We said, why don't we start a project together? And we started talking about live events, how we could incorporate the studio produced music, and how we could incorporate live musicians, etc. And it just grew from there into what is now the House and Garage Orchestra. You know, live music is something we both love. Making music is something we both love, and events, I love organising events. So it's all kind of come together because of what we love doing, to be perfectly honest.
That's amazing. Like, what was like the kind of the idea behind it? Because I know that you went to go and see him at university. I think it was a lecturer at university, and he was
Yes.
doing. And so, what was the kind of like the sparking moment with that? I think let's do a House and Garage Orchestra. What was that kind of flash moment for you?
So the flash moment was, I think we were both at an event, a live music event that Alex had actually organised. And he invited me along. Normally I don't go out during the weekdays because I'm just a hermit nowadays.
Yeah.
But I went out, you know, and we said we could really do something with House and Garage along these lines, with a live band, orchestra, etc. And obviously speaking beforehand, when we were out together in the environment, in a live music environment, it was just like, look, let's do it. We've got to do it. Let's put it together. And we did, you know, over the coming months after that event, you know, we sat down, we planned everything, we penciled which artists we would love to work with, which songs we really want to bring to the forefront in our project. Because initially the idea was to incorporate a lot of new music into the projects as well. So obviously Alex is a producer, he's got a lot of new music coming out, he collaborates with a lot of artists. We want to incorporate a lot of new music into the House and Garage Orchestra set as such, because garage has kind of got that stigma whereby everybody always refers to it as old school garage, or old school classics, or which I think does it almost an injustice. It kind of keeps it stuck in time, whereby there is so much amazing new music being produced all of the time. Amazing producers. I've got so many favorite producers, you know, Zed Bias, you know, Wookie, Sunship, you know, you've got the Conductors, you've got all the new producers coming through. There is so much good music coming through, but sometimes I think people don't get to hear it. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to incorporate the old school tracks and start bringing through a lot of the new music in our live set. And that is what we are starting to do. I think it's almost an education, teaching people and keeping them up to date at the same time. So I think that's very important in what we immediately set out to do. And I think we are doing it to a certain extent, but we're certainly going to be doing a lot more of it as well.
Amazing. Because I want to get into like the artists and tracks in a bit actually. But before that, before you actually started the orchestra, I know you started your label as well together with the AI label. Was that
Yes.
was that before the orchestra, during, or after? Where did that come from? How did that start?
That was almost at the same time, because, you know, with the music that Alex was making, you know, we wanted to start releasing music ourselves. Obviously, nowadays with the social media and the streaming platforms, it is a lot easier to distribute and get your music out there. So, you know, we've never run a record label before. You know, we thought we'll just do this as an almost experiment to see how far we can take it. And that was born at the same time as the House and Garage Orchestra. AI as such, audio intuition. We wanted to just have it as our platform to have the record label, the live performance element, and also taking on new artists underneath our wing as such and developing them. And so it was all born at the same time. It's all a kind of a grand vision that we've got, and we're always working towards, I suppose. And we're still working towards it. You know, it's still a work in progress, but it's a fun journey. And as long as it remains fun, we'll keep on doing it. It's got to be fun, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. I mean, is the label still going about at the moment?
The label is still there. We've not released anything on it in a while. The live project literally took over and consumed us since its inception, really. We did our first tour in 2018. We also released our album 2018. And since then, it's just been so busy with the live events that we both produce and we both manage ourselves. We haven't got an external team that does it for us. We do absolutely everything ourselves. So trying to do everything at once is very difficult, but it's very difficult.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. And you know, we're starting to work with some other record labels as well. That's going to be releasing some of the music that we're producing together, individually. So that should take a lot of the load off of. Because I want to start getting back into producing the events. The events for me need to be at a certain level, so the customer, the person who comes to the event, they have that experience. For me, that is the most important thing, because that is what creates memories, and that is most important.
Definitely. I mean, how did you get into promoting yourself originally?
Oh wow, right. I most probably put on my first ever party in a club when I was 16.
Wow.
So me and Alex used to sneak out a lot. We used to sneak out the Coliseum, Club Coup up in town. We used to sneak out to all these events that we were underage and we shouldn't have been allowed to get into, but we were there. But I put on my first event because I went out once and I got turned away because the security just weren't having it. And I felt so embarrassed, and I was like, right, I feel really embarrassed, but I'm not going to, let this stop me from going out.
Mm-hmm.
So I rang the venue the next day. I found out how much it was to hire the venue, managed to scrape some money together between me and a couple of friends, hired the venue, put on a lineup, and just started spreading it, word of mouth. And yeah, it was crazy. We sold it out, went to the event. Security kind of recognized me and said, "What are you doing there?" I said, "Mate, this is my event. You can't tell me I can't come in." So that's why I kind of really did it, really, to kind of, because I was so embarrassed. I just wanted to prove a point, to be perfectly honest. I wanted to pay the security's wages for the night and be the boss.
Yeah.
That's why I did it. Petty, but it was so much fun. We kind of carried on, and it is a lot of fun organising events. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And around that same sort of time as well, did you build your studio around that same sort of time as well, as you're starting the orchestra and the label?
We did. We haven't actually got that studio anymore, but we did build a studio. We had a studio space down in New Cross, South East London, that me and Alex built. It was just a recording space, really. It wasn't anything elaborate for the orchestra to kind of rehearse. It wasn't big enough. It was just a studio with a booth and our computer, our keyboards, etc., etc. But yeah, we got rid of that because it wasn't really being utilised as much as it could have done. We couldn't do most of the things that we need to from home and just hire out a studio ad hoc when we need to.
Yeah. I've gone back to actually with Alex, actually, when he's at university. Is he still at the same university that you went back to see?
He's not. He's moved on, but he is still in lecturing. He's head of music. I can't remember which establishment he's at right now, but he's head of. He may well be Nescott, I believe he's at. But yeah, he's still doing a lecturing. He's very into education. He wants to make sure the next generation are supported and guided and have that in place. He's very invested in education. That's one thing Alex has always been pro education.
That's fantastic. I mean, have you both gone back to any universities to say, give a talk or a lecture yourselves or a performance?
I haven't, but Alex has, because he's been a lecturer at Middlesex University. He's been at several, but he's been back and he's given talks. But I haven't personally myself, no.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. But let's take it to your first event, actually. It was Queen of Hoxton, wasn't it? 2015, we first performed. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. What was it like to finally get your orchestra up and running and perform at your first event?
That was, yeah, that was very exciting. That was a really, really good event. You know, for our first event, you know, we were looking for a venue, Queen of Hoxton, which was, you know, fantastic starting point. I think it was like a 500 capacity. Yeah, we just literally put it together, got the date in, and just started promoting it. Again, it was self-promoted by myself. Again, completely sold out. And yeah, it was really exciting to see our concept that we hadn't done yet, which was simply just an idea, come to fruition. It was a very proud moment, to be perfectly honest, because we were told at that point by so many people, you can't do house and garage music live in a club. You know, we were told that by so many people, and it was almost disheartening sometimes. But you know, when you've got a vision, if you can see that vision, you can actually see it.
Yeah, of course.
You've got to go through with it. You can't just give up on it.
Yeah.
If it's something that you want to do, you've got to try and fulfill your dreams. And that was one of those moments. We planned something, we had an idea, and we made it work.
Definitely.
It's a proud moment.
Definitely, man. Because I was going to get to that actually. I mean, how difficult was it to overcome those kind of obstacles of people telling you, say, you can't do that, don't do that, don't do that? I mean, how difficult was that for you?
It was difficult because of, you know, when people say those things, it puts a lot of doubts in your head. You're thinking, you know, why hasn't anybody really done this like this before? You know, obviously there's been bands and people have played house and garage music live before, but no one's tried to do it on this scale or make a project out of it like the way we have. And it is very, it can be daunting, and you start to doubt yourself. But again, you know, if you believe in something truly, just go for it. You know, that's why we started off small. We started off in a 500 capacity. You know, we've gone on to do a UK tour up and down the country. We've sold out 2, 3, 4,000 capacity venues now, and we're going on. We've got so many events coming up. We've got some very exciting events coming up. You know, we've actually got our own festival that we've just launched, which is going to be in Reading.
Wow.
In September. Yeah, September the 24th, we've launched our own festival, which is a 5,000 capacity. And just to think of where we came from, you know, people saying it's not going to work, to where it is, and hopefully where we're going to take it to, it's just so much fun. It's just exciting, you know. It really
brilliant. Because obviously I'm such a huge fan of your work, obviously, and just to see that journey you've gone through has been amazing. I'm really proud of you. So keep up the amazing work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anytime, man. But you've got when you first started, and then did it, and obviously gone to huge success since, like you said, with like the festivals, the tours, and so forth. And your albums as well, work with such major artists. Have the same people that kind of tried to put you off the orchestra reached out to you again and say, sorry that we had the doubts when?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. You know, I think the thing that initially put doubts in people's heads was the scale and the costs, and how is it going to be feasible in the environment where we wanted to put it. But we've been able to scale it up and down, you know, depending on venue, depending on what we do, we can scale it, you know. And I think that's been key, because we started off small, but we had, you know, a big aspiration. We started off, you know, we were calling ourselves the House and Garage Orchestra, but we had 4 musicians. But we always had that dream in our head to have a full orchestra playing the music. So, you know, yes, people have reached out to us, and they, you know, it's not that we've proven them wrong. It's just something that wasn't being done. So to go forth and do what we wanted to, and to be able to scale it in the way that we can, again, having those people reach out to us, it is really, you know, again, another proud moment. It's just proud that we've got that support or backing from our peers.
It's incredible. I mean, how long did it take you initially to create the whole orchestra from, say, beginning to end to that first event? Was it quite quick, or was it longer than you might have anticipated? Oh, your volume's cut out. Ishmael?
We've been very lucky to have worked with some amazing musicians, have an amazing MD now. You know, we didn't start off with an MD. We were doing absolutely everything ourselves. So I've learned so many lessons. I've made some mistakes, but with mistakes you learn. And I think where we are now, we're still evolving what we do, but it's a work in progress. And we've got some amazing musicians. Our MD is absolutely fantastic, and it's just
Brilliant. Would you recommend, I say, bringing in an MD for any group to take their project further? Do you feel?
100%. It gives you that support, a little bit more understanding of what's involved. I'm not a conductor, but I understand what is now happening by working with my MD. I know the process. We get all of our music. Me, myself, Alex, and our MD, we sit down and we structure the songs we're going to play. We set out our playlist or set list as such, and we work together to build the set so it's cohesive and it runs smoothly. And when we go into our rehearsals, we leave everything down to our MD. He takes what we've spoken about and what we've kind of envisioned and puts it into practice. Having that MD on a project like this and taking it to the scale that we have has been paramount. It really is important.
Yeah, I mean, how do you find your MD? Was it through like a mutual contact, or did you reach out to them?
Right. So again, this was a weird one. So we've met a few people just by word of mouth, through musicians that we know, and just networking in general, online, Facebook, etc. But our MD at the moment, who hopefully is our MD and stays our MD, is a guy called Ben. Funnily enough, I met him via my mum. My mum has been banging on about her friend's son, who's an amazing musician, and I'm like, Mum, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. We've been doing it for a while now. We're good. I don't need any help. She said, okay, well, here's his number just in case. So one day I thought, you know what, let me just phone him, satisfy Mum. I phoned him, spoke to him, looked at his body of work, and was blown away. I was like, wow, okay, we need to have a sit down and a proper chat. Sat down with him, ran the project by him. He was blown away by what we've done without actually having some of the knowledge that he has with working with orchestras, etc. So, again, we clicked immediately. We started working on a larger scale orchestra, and that's how we met. Basically, Mum knows best, apparently.
Yeah, there we go. They do. That's brilliant. But going back to that first event at Queen of Hoxton, was that your own event? Like you created yourself, or did you hire the venue out yourself, or was it through another event, say Isle of Live or one of those kinds of events?
No, that was our own event completely. Literally hired the venue, self-promoted it, done all the ticketing, done absolutely everything. Booked the DJs, booked absolutely everything.
Wow, that's amazing. How much work was involved in that then?
Well, that was me. I kind of took that on board. Alex at the time was dealing with the musical side of things. So Alex was dealing with the musicians, the set lists, and I just basically took up the mantle and dealt with the clubs and the ticketing side of things. Because I've done it previously via throwing my own events, etc. So we kind of played to our own strengths, and we just did what we needed to do.
That's incredible. Obviously, since then you've performed at the Roundhouse to the Albert Hall in Manchester, loads of amazing places in the UK tours. I mean, what's it like to fill out such amazing venues?
Again, it's been such a journey, and it's just, again, we're just proud of what we've done. It's been such a journey. It's going from a 500 cap venue up to the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 cap venues. It's just, we just have to take a step back sometimes when you're not running around like a headless chicken on the day of the event, getting everything in order. Just take a step back and just appreciate what we've achieved. We're so proud of what we've done.
Yeah, it's incredible. And obviously you've worked with some of the most amazing artists, obviously in the galaxy, like Shola Amar, to Kele Rock and so forth. I mean, what's it like to work with such incredible artists like that?
It is so nice to work with these artists. Everybody who we work with, has been so supportive from day one. You know, Kele has been on board since day one. We did a debut show with Kele. He's always been fully behind us. And, you know, with Kele, MC Neat, we've just grown the network of artists that we started to work with. You know, we're working with so many artists right now. You know, we're always updating our set list and collaborating with new people. So yeah, it is really, really nice working with these artists because they're so experienced and they're just amazing.
That's amazing, man. And when you get to work with these artists, do they have, say, a big hand in how the production and whole sound should sound, or is that literally down to you to put forward what it sounds like, and then they come in, just do their part, and then obviously not just leave, but you know what I mean? It's just,
again, it's we interpret the tracks as we think they should be interpreted. We will then send the artist a copy for their okay, to make sure they're happy with the structure. And that's how we do it. You know, it's a work in progress. We wouldn't play anything if the artist wasn't happy with it. You know, some of the tracks, for example, Kele, she likes to do a little bit of a medley. So she likes mixing some of her songs with other songs that she's done before. So we can mix it up a little bit. You know, in one of the tracks that we perform with Kele, yes, it is a house and garage track. We break it down into like a little reggae ska kind of beat, and she kind of rocks out to that, which is, it just sends the crowd mad. But yeah, no, we work together. We're always kind of talking to the artists that we work with, and that's what makes it fun. Everybody's a part of what we're doing. You know, we don't just say, right, you turn up and sing and then you go. You know, we want everyone to feel like family. You know, when we was on tour, it really was a family atmosphere. Everyone was having jokes with each other. Yeah, Kelly's like a big sister to me now.
That's amazing.
And she tells me off when she needs to as well. So, but yeah, it's just a family feel. It's a really good vibe.
That's brilliant, because that's exactly how I feel with my orchestra. It's just having that family feel to it. It makes everyone feel so comfortable, and you can have jokes with each other. It makes, I said this before actually on the podcast, it makes the performances better, doesn't it? When you're having that fun with each other, and that kind of family vibe, it shows on stage too, doesn't it?
It does. It really does come through, and the crowd can see it. If you click on stage, all of that energy, all of that aura, it is projected, and the crowd can pick up on it. They really can.
Do you have any personal favourite events and or venues that you performed at over the past few years?
Favourites? I think we've been growing. So I would say all of them, to be perfectly honest. It's been a journey. You know, we started off small, and we you know, when we first sold out Coco in Camden,
amazing.
Like Coco, for me, when we first announced Coco, I was like, yes, Camden Palace. We're doing the Camden Palace with a house and garage orchestra. You know, I remember going to Camden Palace when there was the Cosa Nostra events going on there, and doing the Camden Palace Coco was a big kind of milestone. That was really, really exciting. And then after Coco's, we moved on to Shepherd's Bush, the O2, which again was like, wow, how are we even doing the O2 in Shepherd's Bush, which was completely sold out. I think we sold that event out in like 4 months.
Wow.
And then off the back of that, we then announced Roundhouse, because we had sold out, and we sold Roundhouse in like 5 months, which was like, wow, this is like, how is this even happening? So all of the venues, they've all been, you know, different emotions along the journey, but Coco for me was the first big one.
Yeah, I mean, I know that obviously some of the events you've got up to, up to 100 people sometimes, haven't you? Which is just mental. I mean, what's it like working with so many people of that size?
Oh, I think I've got a lot more grey hairs than I used to.
So
but again, I'm very hands-on. I'm not a control freak at all, but I'm very hands-on. So I like to be involved in absolutely everything, from the tech specification down to the lighting, down to all of our logo being everywhere. You know, banners and T-shirts for the band, everything. I get involved in absolutely everything. But for the larger events, I had some help. A lady called Annie, absolutely amazing. She came on board with me for the larger events, and she was like my right hand woman. She was supporting me on everything because it was just so much work to do, as well as carry on with my everyday daytime job as well. At the same time, I've not really taken any time off from that work. So having a good network and a good team behind you, I think, is also crucial. And I think I've got that. So lucky.
How big's your team as well? Obviously, you, Alex, the MD as well, Ben. Do you work with other people as well?
Do you mean behind the scenes in terms of production?
Yeah, behind the scenes team, yeah.
Okay, I mean, so we've got a sound technician.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Annie, who deals with anything and anything I need her to help me with. I'd say there's most probably about 6 of us.
Okay, nice.
Six of us in total. Yeah, and if we need any help, then we get some help. But 6 of us in total. But me, myself, and Alex, we kind of deal with everything, and then we kind of delegate out what we can't handle, basically.
Oh, brilliant. But what I want to get into as well is your Garage Classics album and how that whole process. Yeah, what was that like to work on, and how was that whole process?
Wow, that was absolutely manic. This is something that we always wanted to do from when we first thought about the project. So from the inception of the project, we said, how do we package this up? What can we do? We need to have a live performance, but to back that up, it would be nice to do an album or some recordings as well. So, me and Alex, we kind of put a list together of our wish list as such, of the songs that we wanted to put on an album. Once we had that list down, I started to contact a few people that I thought it might suit, which record labels potentially we could work with. And one of them that I really wanted to work with was New State. They do the pure garage compilations.
Oh, amazing.
So I thought we'd be an absolute perfect fit. So I spoke to New State, sent them a couple of emails, got called in for a meeting, sat down and discussed how I saw the whole process working, and going through our audience base and everything else, and our reach, etc. And I mean, they were really, really behind us. They believed in us. They really took to the idea, and they supported us the whole way. They gave us so much support, and we learned so many lessons from those guys. We still speak on a very regular basis with the guys at New State. And yeah, they're always supporting us. If I've got any issues or queries or problems, I'd say, the guys over there, they've almost become like big brothers.
Yeah.
They give us support all the time. Everyone we kind of meet and collaborate or work with in this journey so far have become really good friends. So I think we're fortunate in that aspect. But the whole recording of the album, which we can get into, was, I think we recorded the whole album in a 3-week span.
3 weeks?
So we recorded the whole album 3 weeks.
Wow.
Whew. Yeah. So obviously after we got the go ahead from New State and we got everything in place, we signed all our agreements, etc. They gave us a deadline because we had the Coco show coming up. They said, "Right, it'd be really good to release this album on your Coco show." I think this was in September, and I said, "Our Coco show's in November," and they said yes, and I said, "Wow, okay." Anyway, so we booked the studio. We got all of the musicians prepped and booked. We spoke to all of the artists because we re-recorded all of the vocals, and literally, it was 3 weeks that we recorded the whole album, including re-vocaling all of the songs with all of the artists. Myself and Alex, we were in London. Thank goodness, most of the artists are based in London, but some of them were based up in Nottingham. So we were up and down, and we were recording in several studios. It was an experience. I definitely wouldn't do it like this again. But we had a deadline and a target, and we had to hit it, and that's what we did. It was fun, but wow, I think I've got PTSD.
I'm getting it as well just for
Thinking
hearing
about
that. Oh, but that is mental. We recorded the whole album in 3 weeks. Was it mixed in that time as well, or was that another few weeks afterwards until it was fully mixed?
It was mixed after. I think if we had tried to mix it in that time, it would have been too much. But there was a guy called Darren Tate,
I know Darren
another
Tate.
amazing producer. So Darren, he did the mix. He mixed the album for us, and added some additional orchestration where needed. The people that we've met along this journey, again, fantastic.
That's amazing. I mean, when you're choosing tracks for, say, the album or performances, I mean, how do you break it down then and decide on which tracks you should be, like, say, featured on the album or your performances? Is it like a big group meeting, like between yourselves and your members, or how do you decide?
So Alex is the DJ. Alex, he can construct and put a set together in his head. This is his forte. He puts it together. He says, this is how I see the set from start to finish. And he puts all the songs in order. Me and Alex talk about it. He puts it down on paper. He might potentially even mix the set as a DJ and play it. And we'll listen to it. And we can swap tracks and put tracks in and take tracks out if they're not quite working as we want them to. And that is as simple as it is. That's exactly how we do it. But Alex, this is what Alex does. He's more musical than me, I would say. I'm good on Excel spreadsheets, but he's definitely better in the studio than me.
Oh man! And were there any particular tracks that were either easier than you thought to work on, or harder to work on than you expected?
No, I think the music, any song, it almost guides us in which direction to take it. You can listen to a track and, sometimes you listen to a track, it's missing, it hasn't got horns or strings, it hasn't got an oboe or whatever else. But you can listen to a song and you can almost imagine it. I think if you've got that type of musical mindset, you can almost, I don't know, you can make what you want.
Yeah.
And that's how it comes together. We'll listen to a song and I'll say, I can really hear strings there. Maybe doing wah 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 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm not very good. And Alex will look at me with a funny face and say, I don't think that works. Maybe if we put the trumpets there and we can do this here, and then we'll say, right, Ben, what do you think? And Ben will say, actually, guys, I really think the strings work here, and we can put some brass there, and then we'll start to structure it. And that's the process. We always speak to each other. If somebody hears something, we'll always talk about it. And that's it.
Definitely. And let's talk about recording process then. How did you actually do it then? Did you record, say, strings first and brass and percussion and so forth? Or did you try and bring the whole orchestra together each session to try and save at least some kind of time?
We recorded the rhythm section first.
Okay.
We did the rhythm section, so we've got the bass of every single track. From the rhythm section, we then did the vocals. From the vocals, we then added the brass and the strings, and everything else. And then after that, it was just a case of just post-production, which Alex did. Alex produced the whole done all the post-production on the album, and then obviously it went to, and Alex and Darren did all of the mixing, etc. But yeah, that was the process, and we did it in a way that we thought was logical, rather than a way that we knew how to, because we'd never done it before. So we just sat down and said, what is the most logical way to do this? And that's how we did it.
Yeah. Did you use the same musicians for every track, or did you have to say bring in a lot more to cover the time that was needed for the deadline?
No, we used the same musicians for all of the songs. On one day we might have had to change the bass player for a couple of songs simply because of timescales and that's about it really. But we used all of the same musicians. The guys that we were working with at the time were absolutely fantastic, really, really good musicians. And that was it.
Amazing. And did you have, say, more than one session at the same time in different studios, say like one in, say, like that North London, for instance, and then one down South London to try and
Mm.
reach the deadline?
For recording the music,
Mm-hmm.
we try to record everything in the same place and have everything set up and left in position so we can get a consistent sound.
Mm.
That's what we did. We had a space for two 2 weeks for recording all of the music. I would say some of the vocals got recorded in different studios,
Mm-hmm.
but all of the music was recorded in the same studio.
Nice. Which one did you use in the end?
So we were fortunate enough to use the facilities at Middlesex University.
Oh, amazing.
So they've got a multi-million pound complex, and because Alex was a lecturer there, they really supported the idea of us doing an album, and they wanted to help out in any way, shape, or form, and they loaned us the use of their facility, which again was a godsend.
That is a godsend. That is so good to hear. Brilliant. And obviously, since that album, do you want to create a brand new one, say for brand new garage tracks, like you mentioned earlier, or still like a continuation of classics? What would you want to do? Obviously, in a different way than last time, but what's the next step then? Would you do another one in the future? Would you say?
100%, we would do another album in the future. It was so much fun. Yeah, I think it'd be a shame not to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of what you'd like to do for next time in terms of albums, or even just singles, maybe? Or how would you do it for next time, and what would you do for next time?
I've got a list of songs that I've written down, and so has Alex, of our favourite new UKG and house, and some of our favourite old school UK garage songs and house that we haven't potentially recorded yet, but are a part of our current live performance. So I think that's the road that we'll go down. Whatever we do is going to incorporate new with the old. So
amazing. And was it difficult to kind of sort out the copyright of each track when releasing your album of covers like that?
In some instances, it was difficult to track down who owned the publishing on some tracks. But again, that was something that the record label dealt with. I wasn't really as much involved with that process, but I was involved with a lot of the paperwork at the end. So I do know the process that they took. It was difficult on some of the tracks, but fairly straightforward on most of them, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, fair enough. But last couple of questions actually is how was the tour that you did? You mentioned a tour earlier. How was it?
Which one? So we did one in 2018 and we did one in 2019.
Both of them then. How were they both?
So the first tour, again, taking everything on board and doing absolutely everything ourselves. So booking all of the transport, booking all of the hotels, doing all of the logistics, all of the tour management, absolutely everything, booking all of the tech, all of the audio, myself. That was a sharp learning curve, massive learning curve, and I had to learn how to swim very quickly. So that was very involved and very tiring, to be perfectly honest. But again, I learned a lot, so I knew the process of what needed to happen for when we went into our second tour. On our second tour, we were doing a lot bigger venues. And that's when the team started to grow. That's when Annie came on board, and our tech, Kieran, he came on board to help me, and we got a couple of other engineers on board to help us to plan lighting, etc. But the second tour was so much easier than the first tour, simply by putting into practice what we had learned on the first tour. What would we do again? What worked? What didn't work? And how can we make this better? And the second tour was an absolute dream. There was no hiccups. It was just I don't know if it could have gone any better, to be honest. It was just so much fun.
That's amazing. That is so good to hear. And you know what? That is, I'm gonna leave it right there. Actually, that's a perfect way to end it. But Ishmael, it's been such an honor to talk to you again, my bro. And thank you so much again for being a part of the podcast. Thank you.
No problems. Thanks, George. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. Before we go, actually, well, how can people find you online, just to make sure?
Okay, so our website, www.thgo.co.uk. Our music, links to our music, links to our up and coming events are on there. That's the best place to go to. We're on Facebook as the House and Garage Orchestra. We're also on Instagram at the House and Garage Orchestra.
Brilliant. Ishmael, thank you once again for being a part of the podcast. I really enjoyed that. So thank you.
That's one. Thank you for having me. Okay.
Anytime, man. And take care, everyone. Bye-bye.